Hey guys, it's Yorkie here and welcome to the channel for an Assetto Corsa Competizione video where today, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, I get my very first win within LFM. Now I know I have kind of already spoiled the result, however, do stick around because this race wasn't exactly the smoothest of races and it wasn't the easiest of wins to obtain. Turned out to be a pretty good battle in the end, so yeah, make sure you stick around for this video. As you can see, we're just fiddling a little bit with the car setup. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't record all the various different pages on the car setup. It's not something that I did on purpose. I don't mind sharing my car setups. We're driving the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, but for whatever reason, I didn't record every single page here. At the time, I was still trying to learn the car anyway, so it's not the best of setups that I used here in this race. There are a couple of flaws, which we'll go on to discuss throughout this video, and I'll provide the solutions to them as well. But anyway, to the action, as we're now on the grid, starting from third position, as you can see, and we are literally about to get rolling with the rolling start procedure here for this race at Silverstone. 20 minutes racing, pure sprint race, no need for pit stops or anything like that, and we now get the car rolling and underway. So the plan of attack here is just to try and survive the first lap or so, kind of settle into the race and see what sort of pace we have in comparison to the two BMWs that are in front of us. We've got a BMW directly behind, a Snow, and then we've got a Ferrari starting in fourth position alongside us. So here we go with the green light, and we finally get that now. So we get a relatively good launch off from that green light, just holding the inside line, taking a little bit too much curve on the inside there, and the car getting a little bit loose. But we settle down in third position, no real issue here. All nice and clean as we now come into Maggots and Beckett's before getting a tap on the rear of the car by the Ferrari behind. Probably didn't expect me to be using quite as much brake going into there, as there are a couple of different lines and approaches that people take going into Maggots and Beckett's, and that's actually given us 4.2 seconds worth of damage, which might have an effect here in this race as we now come down into Stowe Corner, and P2's having a little bit of a look at P1 but wasn't really able to do anything of it. Rear of the car just moving around a little bit as we're getting on the power. The Ferrari's not too far behind as we now come into Vale, very close to the car in front, and again getting another hit from behind from the Ferrari, which actually ends up spinning after that hit as well. I think they got tapped on the rear from the BMW of Snow behind them, which then shoved them into me as we're all kind of checking up there, going into the Vale chicane. Now coming through Abbey and also Farm and into Village and Loop, and you can see P1 and P2 battling away a little bit here up in front of us, just allowing us to keep ground with them, almost going and taking the sausage curb on the inside there. But that second hit is now actually giving us 6.2 seconds worth of damage, so not ideal start, not an ideal first lap here in this race. Would have liked to have been kept completely clean, as P1 and 2 battling a little bit, as you can see, and also P4 Snow behind is having the odd little look here and there, closing up in the braking zone. This is one of the interesting dynamics about the GT3 racing here. Myself in the Audi versus the three BMWs that are in very close proximity to me at the moment. The BMW seems to be really good on the brakes and seems to be really quite strong on the entry to corners and in the high-speed corners, whereas I seem to be a little bit better in the mid-corner and on corner exit, providing I'm able to translate the power. And the BMW is also not too shabby in a straight line either, so having to work with the various different characteristics, trying to maintain and keep my line nice and smooth there through Maggots and Beckett's, which allows me to build a little bit of a gap to Snow behind to prevent him from making any threat coming here into Stowe Corner. You can see P2, it's actually got a very, very red laggy connection. You can see the car just isn't quite moving around as naturally as some of the other cars in front. It's kind of sliding through the corners a little bit, which is making it a little bit more difficult to predict, as again, getting on the power there, coming out through the exit of Vale and into Club, the rear of the car, moving around slightly. You can now see that I'm trying to fiddle with the traction control settings to try and find a way to rectify that slight issue, but in doing so I'm actually messing with the ABS as well, unintentionally, It's not what I wanted. So just waiting until we're through this section of corners as Snow is having a little bit of a look to the inside there. Coming through the loop. So ABS back and forth. The main traction control setting up to 5, and then TC2 kept down on 3. Now coming into Brooklands, and again Snow coming into the Helicorsa radar there in the top centre of the screen quite aggressively. That's just what I'm saying about the BMW being very strong on the brakes into corner entry there. They're able to really throw the car in and kind of lean on the front end to get the car tucked in, whereas the Audi really struggles with braking in a straight line. You put any sort of steering lock in and the ABS really kicks in hard and you start to understeer. You really need to come off the brakes before trying to turn in. As you see, P1 and 2 very close behind us again. Snow is getting very close to us through the mid part of Maggots and Beckett's, trying to get a decent run coming off of the corner here. Try and get the slipstream of L919 up in front to try and help protect our P3 from Snow behind us. He's having a look down the inside coming into Snow, so I've given the space, a little bit of contact there between the two of us at the apexes. He washed out a little bit further wide than I was expecting, so we're now side by side as we come into Vale. I'm on the outside and I can make this work if I can run a little bit deep and hold it tight here coming through that right hander, which I managed to do. So holding on to the position for now, but of course we're losing time to the two cars up in front. So I'm going to need to be careful because battling too hard here is going to lose us a lot of ground and make it very, very difficult to try and keep pace with the front two. As again, Snow closing up an awful lot under braking, forcing me to go a little bit defensive here coming into the loop. It's on the previous lap. He tried to make a lunge down the inside there, and I just wanted to protect from him doing that once again. So we're now a second off the back of P2. Coming into Brooklands once more, and again Snow coming in quite aggressively on the radar there, coming into that corner, and is able to really close up and use the front end of that BMW to its advantage. Just about managing to stay calm at the moment as we now begin lap 3, although there is a little bit more damage on the car that I've picked up there from the earlier incident on the previous lap going into Stowe corner, sorry. And again, you can really see the BMW behind using the downforce to its advantage. And I thought my line through there was pretty good, but he's actually managed to close some ground and hold on to it. So he's now in the slipstream as well. They do have a slight straight line speed advantage, so we're going to have to go defensive here, squeezing him over to the inside of the circuit before quickly trying to open up the circuit for myself, giving plenty of room on the inside. But again, Snow washes out wide. Contact between the two of us, and it looks like that Snow has actually gone and spun from that as well. We've managed to get away, just about holding on to the car. Obviously we've lost a lot of ground to the cars up in front and probably some ground to the cars behind, and they've probably closed up a little bit, and no doubt we're going to have some more damage after that little bit of contact, and indeed we do. Now 9.5 seconds worth on the car, so the damage is stacking up against us here, and it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to close this ground that we've lost to the two cars up in front. And over the course of the next 3 laps, the distance sort of holds relatively steady, as you can see. But coming through here, coming through Cops, P1 has a slight little mistake, possibly running out a little bit too far wide like we did just there, and let off the throttle, which lets L919, who was previously P2, now through up into the lead. And in this remaining 8 minutes, this is where things start to really come back to me here in this race. As you'll see, coming down the hanger straight here, L919 just doing a little bit of weaving there, just trying to break the toe from the new P2 of Saranen. And if they battle hard and keep doing things like that, it could work in my favour to help close this gap up between myself and the front two cars. As you can see, we've we've pulled away from P4 a little bit more by just over another second. I think it was 1.8, but again you can see P1 going very defensive on the F1 start finish straight here. So we come through Abbey, and this is starting to work very nicely into my favour, as again he's defensive almost unnecessarily coming into Village here, and then coming through the loop again, holding a tighter line, and you can see the gap there on the relative. It's coming down quite a lot. It was kind of high in and around like the 2.8 sort of mark. It's now down to 1.6, and again he's very, very defensive all the way on the left hand side on the approach to Brooklands here, taking a very tight line, which is obviously going to slow him down and slow P2 down. Me taking my normal line completely unhindered. Now coming into Luffield, they almost make contact with each other. If not, they did make contact with each other. And that's brought the gap down to just over a second now. And as you'll see, as we cross over the start-finish line, we're going to gain a significant amount of time on the two cars in front. 1.5 to 2 seconds between the two cars on that previous lap alone. So this is bringing me right back into play as we're coming in towards the last 5 minutes or so here of this race. And we're now almost right on the back of P2 as they run a little bit wide there in the right-hander of Maggots. That's going to put them slightly offline, and you can see me nailing my line rather nicely here. Quite a bit of a bump there coming out through the exit, and we're now there within the slipstream as we're coming down the hangar straight, but the straight line speed of the BMW is just about enough to keep me at bay, to not allow me to make a lunge coming into Stowe Corner. You can see again the rear end of the car just moving around, and me fiddling with the traction control settings earlier I don't think helped. I think the traction control is a little bit too high here, and it's probably actually slowing me down a little bit. What the actual fix was that made the car so much more enjoyable and stable on power was actually increasing the rear bump damper, as what was actually happening is it was too soft. The rear was not being supported whenever I got on power, and the rear of the car was effectively just rolling over the tyre, just kind of overpowering the tyres a little bit, and it therefore caused it to lose traction. So stiffening the rear bump gave him a little bit more support and actually made the car a little bit more stable on power, and actually made it grip up. As we can see, P1 and 2 battling away a little bit, so we are right in play here now within half a second of the race leader, as we're just kind of all following each other through the Brooklands and Luffield complex as we begin lap 8 with less than 4 minutes here in this race to go, as P1 is once again going really quite defensive here coming into Copse Corner, and therefore runs out a little bit wide, probably picking up a track limits warning for that. And as you can see, we've got one track limits cut warning, so we just need to be good here coming through Mags and Beckett's, try and line ourselves up for a good run coming off the exit of the corner, which we kind of do. It's okay, it's not too bad, but we're losing a little bit of momentum to the BMWs up in front as P1 is trying to break the toe. Is now defensive coming down towards Stowe. P2's going to have a look around the outside as they come into the corner. A little bit of contact between the two of them. This opens up the door for me to slip up in underneath, and that's us momentarily up into P2, but we've got to kind of defend a little bit here coming into this corner. And the P1 broke a little bit early, so we're going to lunge down the outside and kind of use that space to hold on to P2, give just about enough room on the exit there of Vale to the BMW behind to now secure the position. P1 once again trying to move over and break the toe almost unnecessarily. Manages to get back online though before coming into Abbey Corner. But we certainly made the most of that situation, as once again they're going unnecessarily defensive here coming into Village. Really tight there on the inside and compromising their line. Also once again you can see the Audi, the strength that it has going through the mid corner and on the exit, just able to get onto the power and translate it a little bit nicer. So we're right there, tucked up under the rear of the BMW. Is there a little bit defensive, but there's space on the inside, so I'm going to switch over, come into Brooklands. They don't defend that, and I go for the lunge down the inside. Just need to hold it tight to the apex, which we managed to do. That opened up the door for the other BMW behind, and there's actually two lots of contact. One in Brooklands as P3 initially came up into P2 and there was contact between L919 and the kind of fluorescent lime green BMW in left field, and this has actually given me some space. 1.2 seconds worth, I think, as we come through. 1 second's worth as we come through turn 1. You can see him there, just glance in the rear view mirrors. We're now into the race lead. It's going to be the last lap of the race, so we just need to hold on to it here for this lap, and we'll take the race win. As you can see, looking at the relative coming through the Maggots and Beckett's complex, BMW of 919 behind has actually closed up half a second through those sequence of corners alone, really making use of the downforce on that car. You can see glancing in the rear view mirror there, see that closing up to 0.4 seconds. A bit of a lunge there, but that would have been a desperate one coming from that far back, coming into Stowe. The braking zone's not big enough, so we just need to be nice and tidy coming through Vale and Club. And I know that the next opportunity that the BMW is going to have is going to be coming into Village Corner, the next key braking zone. So fairly smooth coming out at the exit of Vale and Club. This corner is going to be absolutely crucial, so just a slight breathe on the throttle there, coming on through, holding that quite nicely. And now we're going to be looking for them coming up on the radar, but they don't seem to be there. So take our usual line, and there he is popping up on the radar. A little bit of a scare there on the exit of Village coming into the loop, as that could have easily gone horribly wrong. And here we can see what it is exactly happened up in the top right hand corner. So actually P2 ran a little bit wide going through Abbey, which put them well offline, and they were there on the inside. Thankfully they were actually holding the brakes and trying to slow the car down as they came across the inside of Village Corner there, which prevented any sort of catastrophe happening. But that has allowed us to hold on to the race lead as we now come through Woodcote and across the start finish line. And the key takeaway from that race is be careful with your defending. Defend too hard, you'll cost yourself an awful lot of time, and that may give the opportunity to other drivers behind. But what a race that was. Hopefully you guys and girls enjoyed that one. I certainly did. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and leave any comments or questions down below. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I shall see you in the next one. Until then, have fun, stay safe, take care.